Howdy everybody, Dave here with Nelson Creek Farms coming to you from a beautiful Monday, the 27th of May 2024. It is a warm, nice, sunny Memorial Day weekend this weekend. And I finally have a day off with decent weather, really awesome weather actually. Today's going to be the first time we're going to probably be bumping above 70 so far this year. And today we're going to assemble the mini hay baler. So that's on the agenda for this episode. Before we begin this Memorial Day, let's remember those that have fought and died and not returned on all fronts, on all wars, to serve our country and to protect our way of life as we know it here in the United States of America. The first thing to do to get the baler off of the pallet that it's on was to actually cut the band and get the pallet out from underneath it. And then it's bolted down to a steel frame by this pair of little clamps. And those clamps bolted down the axle stubs to that framework that it come in. Yeah, a little pallet framework kind of a thing. Some of you may have seen that kind of thing and recognize it. Yeah, it's a little framework that the whole baler was sitting on. Yeah, so I got those removed. Now let's pick it up and get this frame out from underneath it. Okay, let's see if we can lift this off of here and make this rise. By golly, look at that. Come up high enough, I can drag that clean out from underneath it. We'll save this and make a trailer frame or something out of it. Now that the machine is up in the air and ready to have the wheels put on it, I can't put the wheels on it yet because they're in the back end here that pops open when you dump out a bale. And like a goober that I am, I have misplaced the owner's manual that actually told how to do all this. So what I'm going to have to do is remove this bolt up here, pull out the bolt so I could release this back door hatch from the hydraulic cylinder that opens it, and swing it up manually. I remembered where I was reading the manual for this thing last. It was in the shop. I went down to the shop, found the color manual, and by golly, you know what? This is how you get into the back end of the thing, just like I was thinking of doing. Just pull out this bolt and flip it up. The hydraulic cylinder, that is. Yeah. Oop, there went my wrench. It took me a minute to figure out how to get the back end open. You swing out the side panel there, and right down here is the lock mechanism. It's just kind of a hook that holds the back door shut. See? Yeah, right there. So this whole rod up here goes straight across and it's attached to the other end of the hydraulic cylinder. So what you got to do is that cylinder works not only here on this end, but there on that end, and contracts and rotates this to unlatch this down here. So lifting up that latch brings this up, putting a nice little twig or something in there, holds it to keep the latch undone. With a little personal injury to myself there and there, I did manage to get the fancy little wheels out of the back end of this thing, simply by lifting up the back of the tailgate. Trouble is, that tailgate's frickin' heavy. I don't know that you can see it, but everywhere there's one of these little sprockets in there. Yeah, that's a roller assembly. And these things are the rollers that roll up the hay. There's no belts. It's all just little steel drums. That's what makes the back door of this thing back here so stinking heavy. And the orange panels are part of the green thing that flips up. Yeah. So now we'll drop the hydraulic back down, hook it up, and attach those. And my not knowing any better, I figured these were the axle hubs or stubs or something for the wheels to mount to. And then I got to looking and I thought, well, no, it's the wrong size. It comes with an axle, but it fits in here, but it's loose. But you know what? You can't slide the wheel on all the way because you hit this stub that was mounted to that green frame. So these have to come out. So what you have to do is remove that bolt right there to get that shaft out of that hole, and then you push the wheel assembly with the axle in there, and there's two holes, one here where the bolt is and one out here, for wheel adjustment, because they say they want the wheel lined up with the tires of the tractor. Well, the inner bolt here, or inner bolt hole, the one closest to the tire, does the trick for this setup. So I've got the bolt back in there. I'm going to tighten it up and do the same on the other side now. Might be a little hard to see because of the shade, but both tires are on the thing. And got the bolt back in the hydraulic cylinder. I got the chain unhooked off the top of it from the lifting ring here. And this one over here. So I got about a nice 6 feet of chain I can make something out of. Get a couple hooks for it. And yeah, the tires are on. They got a cute little hubcap that says Redlands on it, the outfit that made it. I'm thinking these wheels are actually a fiberglass composite. I don't think they're metal. Yeah, I really don't think they are. Interesting. Anyway, made in India tires. Yeah, of course that's where the whole thing comes from. I next installed the landing gear that goes right into part of the casting right there and is bolted into place. I think in the long run though, I will replace that with one of those pins with the U-shaped bail on it to be able to actually just quickly remove it once I get out into the field, and then I can put it back in when I need to park the baler, because that's all it's good for. Otherwise, I think it's going to be hanging up down in the windrow. You can kind of see the relation to it just as it sits right here. It's a good 6 inches or so over into the area of the pickup. So yeah, that thing will be on a pin that comes out. Another thing I noticed when I was mounting this to the tractor was the angle here of the bolts. So I think what I'm going to have to do is undo that nut right there and flip these hitch pins around so that the smaller end is out here. And yeah, that'll give me a little more swing and alignment ability on both sides. For now though, I'm going to lower the machine down to the ground, check in the bale chamber to see if there's any other parts and pieces in there that need to come out, and then we're going to mount the twine ball holder. Yeah, if you can call it that. I'm not sure what you're going to call it. I'll look that up, because I did find the manual, and it's in the manual what it is. Another thing that I'm changing besides flopping the ends, this one over here I haven't done yet, is the pins are in horizontally through the pinholes. Yeah, and if that wire, the spring-loaded bale deal, comes off of the top of that pin, these things can jiggle out, and then all of a sudden you got one side pulling and the other side dragging and all sorts of mess. So I turned this one so that the pin would drop in from the top. That way if that wire loop or the bale or the handle spring-loaded part comes off, yeah, that pin will still sit in there and maintain the attachment point. The next piece to go on is this arm. Now this is a twine ball support arm, and that makes this machine a little bit different from the Chinese made versions of this same type of machine. And the reason why is the location of the ball of twine. On these Indian made jobs, it goes up here, so you can use a lot larger ball of twine, making more bales. On the Chinese made versions, the twine balls go down here in this bin or hopper, whatever you want to call it, and they're extremely small. So the ones that you can get for these particular models are twice the size, so they don't fit down in here. Those other ones are really roughly twice the size of a thing of yarn that you knit with. So having this arm here that you can put a great big ball of twine on Makes a lot more sense than cramming a little one down inside of there. So yeah, the only thing that's going to go down in there is some of the tools that are needed, like the remote control to run the hydraulics. That's an electronic cable, goes up into the cab. That'll be stored down in here and that sort of thing. Otherwise, just a few peculiar tools just for this machine. That's all it's going to be in there. And I'll put some oiled rag or something in there to keep them from rattling and rusting, and put it down in there. The next thing to fit up to this machine is the PTO. We can get in here to do it. Yeah. This thing is so close coupled to the tractor that you don't have to have a very long shaft. No pun intended. And yeah, it looks like we're going to have some cutting done here. So I think, even though this is a real short one, I think we're going to be too dang good close. So I'm going to yank it apart real quick in half, and we'll eyeball the two halves. Okay, before all of you safety Nazis have a fit because I took the PTO covers off of the shafts, those come off and on really easy, but I had to take it off so I could find out just exactly how much I needed to shorten these shafts. So once I get the shafts cut down to the right length, because as you can see, they're too long now. They're about, I'd say 4 inches. Cut 2 inches off each one of them, and it'd be just about bumper to bumper in there. So yeah, I need to cut back at least 3 inches off each one of those to have a little bit of play in there. But yeah, I want it to as much contact to surface-wise as I can. But yeah, can't figure this out by having those PTO shields on there. And yeah, I'll cut down the shafts on the PTO shield covers that cover the PTO shafts the same amount as what I'm cutting down the actual shaft. Then I'll put it all back together again and we'll run it. Okay, this is how I do it, but not necessarily how you should. This is not a how-to video, this is how I do it video. What I'm looking at doing here is we have about 2 inches of overhang here on this end and down here on this end. So to get the right amount of clearance, I think we're going to cut 4 inches off of each end, and that should get us pretty much about 1/3 of the shaft, or half, hooked up together to drive the baler. So I'm going to pull these apart, cut 4 inches off each end of it, stick it back on here, see what it looks like, and we'll go from there. And if I need to cut it shorter, I can at that point. And then we'll make the same cuts for the shielding that goes on there so that it'll fit properly as well, and we'll reassemble the whole thing, put it all back together. Now I've cut my 4 inches off of both sides, and let's see how much length we got here in play. There we go. Okay, cutting 4 inches off of both ends of the shaft gives me about 2 inches here. And because that shaft is so stinking short, a lot of people like to have about 1/3 of the shaft hooked up. Now we got about half, if I had to make a guess, because you got 2 inches there, about 2 inches here, so there's at least half in there hooked up. So what I'm going to do is fire up the tractor real quick, and we'll lift this thing and see if that binds up anywhere. And the other thing you always have to take into consideration is down here what your drawbar is doing. And yeah, it's not coming anywhere near close to that, so we're good there. But anyway, let me get in the tractor, we'll fire it up and raise this thing up and see if that binds up. We're going to be watching that bare spot of shaft right there. Let's see what it does here. We're all the way down now, so let's see what it does when we start lifting. It's getting longer. We never really want to run the PTO at that steep of an angle, but as you can see, we've got more of a stretch right there, so there's no way that's going to bind up. Yeah, that's gotten longer if anything. So let's set her back down and see what happens, just to double check, make sure. Nope, it isn't binding up, so we're good. Well, that's going to do it tonight from Nelson Creek Farm. I'm going to go ahead and cut up those plastic PTO shields that go on there, cut 4 inches or maybe 5 off of those where they're not so critical to be overlapped for structural strength. Yeah, and put all that back together, and then I'm going to park this in the shed for now, get it in out of the weather, and yeah, we're going to finish up with the drum mower here in the next day or two. Got a few other projects I got to do. My grass in the yard is knee high. I got to get it mowed. I got to get water on the place. So yeah, ton of different things for me to be doing around here. So I may not make a video for all of it. I may just be doing one a week now for a little bit until I can get caught back up. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'm Farmer Dave, wishing you all well. And please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, this video, or hit that big red thing down there that says subscribe. I really appreciate it. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you would, thank you, and I'd appreciate it. Anyway, Farmer Dave, wishing you all well. Catch up with you later. Bye-bye for now.